What's up? It's Matt. We're back. Round two today. Earlier, I had another expert. Now I got another expert here. I got the man, the myth, the legend that wrote this book, Mr. Bruce Nelson, who's also rocking some MP gear behind him. We're going to talk about some things he's finding as he's planning for 2022 when it comes to numbers, not my strength. Be back in a second. Bruce, first, I got to say, that is the best equipped office ever. You got a beautiful skylight, and you got some MP orange gear in the background.
Yeah, I thought you'd like that. No, it's beautiful here in Minnesota today.
So I guess for the audience, you've been on before a few times. Tell us about you and the myth, magic, math. Give us a little history of Bruce Nelson for about 60 seconds, and let's dig into conversation.
It sounds good. Well, I'm 40 plus years in the restaurant industry. The first 30 were all in operations. And about 10 years ago, I shifted gears and got involved at the corporate offices of Nova Restaurant Group, where I am now the CFO. And it's actually the last 10 years that have really opened up my eyes as to how restaurants operate financially. And it was the experience over the last 10 years that went into writing the solutions that are in myth, magic, and math.
Yep. And what I love about it, I was telling somebody about you the other day about this book, is that a lot of we deal with a lot of independent restaurants all over the country, and even some small franchises. And that person's experience in their restaurant is all they have. They look at the numbers for one restaurant. They look at their numbers. And a lot of times they're stuck in their own world. A guy like you is looking at the numbers for not only your last 40 years of experience, but you're looking at the numbers of multiple restaurants. How many restaurants do you guys have in Nova?
We have 9 now. We got 2 on the drawing board that are under construction.
Okay. So, you're looking at the numbers of 9 places. So it's like I told somebody the other day, I'm like, your chef, a chef at this place called Cali Barbecue, that their chef makes, thousands of racks of ribs a week. Matt Platt makes one every couple of weeks. I'm going to guess that they've fine-tuned their technique a little more than me. And it's the same way with us. We do tens of thousands of marketing campaigns for restaurants. And so we fine-tuned it. You're looking at the books and the planning and budgeting and operations of 9 restaurants, and you're able to really pull in and come up with what the ideal situation looks like.
It is. And, as an operator, we were all trained to look at dollars, how many dollars in sales, how many dollars did you spend in food, labor, and all the other expenses. And then we try to manage the dollars. What I learned when I got into this role as being a CFO is looking at the percents and focusing far more on what the percents mean than the dollars. And that's what kind of opened up how I, remodeled the math to say, how do we change a profitability model? Enough restaurateurs. We make our money in pennies. Yep. So it doesn't take a whole lot of pennies to adjust a model from a loss to a profit.
Yeah.
We do that by playing with percents.
Yeah. And it's wild. We're in the process of modeling out what it looks like our first 30 vans we're buying for America's Best Restaurants. I've got this crazy complex Excel sheet that my interim CFO gave me that we've been building. And it's wild that when you adjust 1% here, 1% there, when you take the deliverable of something like in our area, we drop off a really cool kit that people get from, $27 to $21. And you start plugging those percentage points in, like you said, there's pennies left at the end. And you know what, if you can stack more pennies, the better you are in 5-10 years. So in our messaging, you made a comment. We were talking about what we're going to talk about. I want to talk finances and marketing and money. You made a comment that there's some eye-opening things that you've seen when you're looking at next year. I want to dig into what those eye-opening things are.
Well, exactly. It's no surprise that we're seeing commodity price increases. I think anybody goes to a grocery store has noticed they're paying more money. We are as well. In fact, I had my cost control manager run some numbers. I've got some items that I sell that have gone up more than 60% the last 6 months over the prior 6 months. And that's a real expense. There's nothing we can do about it other than pay it or decide that we're not going to sell that item. So commodities definitely an issue. You may have also heard that getting items shipped is a problem, both in cost to get it to you and how long it takes to get to you. So we have a shipping issue. And finally, our industry's been hit pretty hard with labor. The Nova stores have pretty much increased back of the house labor by over $2 per hour in the last 6 months. So again, these are very real costs. So I got three things going on. We got labor, we got delivery, and we got commodities. So now how do you take that and model it into 2022 and make a profit? And that's what we're talking about today.
So let's talk about cost of products. And I was actually talking about this the other day, and I'm not a software guy. I'm not a geeky tech guy as much as I could probably be. But I was talking to a restaurant recently, and we were talking about how same thing, that, this product was $2.30 6 months ago. Now it's $3.84. And, it doesn't look like a huge number until you multiply that out.
Right.
In the course of 1,000 customers getting it. And I asked him, I said, so we were talking about the process of getting that in their POS. And I said, man, has anybody created a point of sale out there that your product comes in from PFG or Cisco or US Foods, and that invoice goes right in there, and that your pricing is not printed anymore? It's all on your website, and it's all updated in the POS as what comes in every week. Because I think that's almost what you've got to decide. And I want to get your feedback on this. If I owned a restaurant, which my goal in the next 2 years is to open our restaurant here called Starters. It's part of our vivid vision that we want to live and breathe and practice what we preach. But my vision is that the product's going to be priced based on what my costs are, my back of house, my electric, my food. That if I supply a great product, a great environment, and someplace that people want to go to on a weekly basis, I don't know that consumers look and go, oh shit, my Coke is $2.73 today. It was $2.38 last week. I mean, look at gas. Look at milk.
Right.
So what are your thoughts on how are you guys attacking that?
Well, that's interesting. What you're talking about is an auto price calculator. Everybody goes to a grocery store. They've been doing this for 30 years.
Yeah.
So when they get a can of soup in, and if that soup went up, 50 cents a case, it runs through a program. It automatically prices that soup at a new price based on a metric, and spits out the labels, and someone goes and slaps it on the shelf, and it updates the computer.
And nobody quits going to Kroger and says, "Oh, I'm done with Kroger. My Ritz crackers were 4 cents different this year versus week ago."
Exactly. So that technology exists. I'm not aware of any restaurant that does it that granularly. It'd be interesting, because I think it would. Boy, I tell you, if we did that now, you'd scare the heck out of some people with something like a beef tenderloin. Because if you let the computers automatically price adjust it, it'd probably show up at $100 a plate.
Yeah, and there's going to be
based on the metrics.
Yeah, and there's going to be some items that you're going to have to, obviously you can't mark up. Like we had our boat business, we had our parts department. I'll never forget something that really resonated with me. We were part of a group called the Yamaha Symposium 20. It was a top 20 Yamaha dealers. We went to a conference every 3 months, and we helped blueprint what dealers should do. And we had an expert come in, and he said, hey, here's one of the problems I'm seeing in the parts departments with you guys that boat dealers aren't doing yet. And we're like, what? He said, well, you got this part that cost you 25 cents, and you got this part that cost you $25. You're marking them up the same. Like that $25 product gets marked up to $39. That's cool. Why are you marking up a 25-cent product to 39 cents? Mark it up to $2.99. Like it's going on a boat. It's on a service ticket. You can make higher margins on those little things versus the big one, which I think comes back to your tenderloin example.
Right.
You can mark up French fries, 3 times, but you can't mark up a tenderloin 3 times because now nobody's paying it.
Exactly. You nailed it. So that's our big challenge. And what we do here is every quarter we do run a scenario where we add up commodities, labor, heat, lights, rent, and it does spit out a overhead number, an overhead factor is what I call it. So that helps. With that number in mind, we can set a break even on these items. And that's the whole goal, is figuring out what your break even is. So we don't want to sell anything less than break even. And obviously, once we have a break even number, we can then say, okay, very simple to calculate 5%, 10%, 15%, 50% profit. But we run through that metric every quarter, and so far it usually spits out very minor adjustments, 20 cents, 50 cents. That's what it's been historically. But now, as I'm looking at 2022, and I produce my budgets based on current known commodities and labor, obviously we're not happy with those bottom line percentage numbers. And we're looking at price increases for the first time that probably are going to exceed 5% in any given quarter. And it's just a reaction to what we're seeing in front of us, and really not seeing any relief coming down the road.
And I think now's the best, in my opinion. Granted, I'm not a financial guy. I can read this book. I can't put it in play. I can't write it. But I look at it from a marketing standpoint. I was at a restaurant the other day that went back to printed menus. I said, why? Because what do you mean? I said, dude, every consumer is accustomed to scanning a QR code and going there. Now you get this cost of printing a menu. I said, but also now you're tied to those prices.
Right.
And the more I talk about this, the more I want to find somebody that's smarter than me to help me do it. But I said, imagine if every week you were able to put in there your cost of your staff. Like you said, I know people that are making $20 an hour back of house at restaurants that were making $12 an hour 5 years ago. And it's ludicrous to see, but that's what it is in some of these positions. But it is what it is. And so what if all of a sudden your food prices were changing every day, every week, for example, based on what the product came in from Performance Food Group, based on what the electric bill came in from Duke Energy, based on what your labor came in the week before. That's what car dealers do. The car dealer, the car business, it's a huge thing that your prices this month are based on the prior month. And that's how you make sure that you don't go out of business. A joke I've always heard in the car business is there's two ways to go out of business in the car business: drugs and gambling. Because Chevy gives you an equation that says if you follow our numbers in this spreadsheet, you're good. And I don't know a poor car dealer personally.
Right.
So I don't know. I think this is an opportunity for restaurants to look at that. And like you're saying, versus every quarter, why not every week? And from a marketing standpoint, you know what? Consumers are accustomed. They aren't going to question if they come in tomorrow and there's not a single menu. They're not going to question it. And I eat out at restaurants every night. We're going to a Mexican place tonight. I will not look at the price of what I'm getting. I'm getting their giant quesadilla. My wife's ordering a large queso dip. I'm probably going to get a Coke. I couldn't tell you what it cost tonight and what it cost 3 months ago. I don't give a shit because it's a great restaurant, great food.
Right. It's an interesting concept. We have the technology that we could do it that often.
Yeah.
We're opening a new pizza place.
Ooh.
And one of the things we're looking at, obviously, although all the items for pizza stores can be online. Okay. I don't think we'll be printing any menus for that. And we're playing around with some kind of cool menu boards, electronic menu boards that kind of update like every 15 minutes, like a stock ticker tape.
Yeah.
Stock,
cheese prices are better.
Exactly. So I'm not quite sure how we're going to play with that, but I kind of like that idea that it's always updating, whether or not obviously I don't think we're going to update the prices every 15 minutes.
Well, it wouldn't need to be. I mean, all you could literally have is that board. If there's menu products out there that computer, that TV is just reflecting your menu page on your website.
Exactly. It's kind of given this idea that this is a moving item, that it's not something that's just always going to be fixed. Yeah. So we'll see how that plays out. We just met with the marketing team today on that, and I was kind of excited about it.
I'd love to be involved in some of those conversations, by the way. I like to hear other marketers. The one thing negative with me, you're my seventh person from the restaurant space in the past 3 hours. I've literally every half hour different calls. So I love to hear the different mindsets of it from a one location owner, like a guy I just got off the phone with. We're helping him launch his 43,000 square foot concept in Gatlinburg, Tennessee, and one of his concepts in Branson, Missouri, based around Guy Fieri. And then, the other one I got off before that was a 80 location franchise. And the one before that was a 2 location independent. And I always love hearing that and hearing the different feedback and the ideas.
Well, it's kind of fun. In fact, I gave my marketing guy that. He read it.
Do you have the most recent book?
Yes, I do.
Cool.
I have that one too. I think you sent me 2 copies of that. I kept one and I gave one to Dan, who's been doing our marketing for about 10 years. He's more of a branding specialist. He doesn't work for us. He's a consultant.
Okay.
But he helps us come up with the names
Oh, cool.
and get everything ready to launch.
What kind of pizza, by the way?
New York style.
New York. I
That's what
love
we're
it.
shooting
Big
for now.
slices, fold it in half, grease
Yep.
dripping on you. Oh, I love it.
You've got one of our owners is from upstate New York.
Okay.
And when he moved to the Twins, ran a place called out in that area called Pontillo's. So any of your viewers that are out in the upstate New York will know of Pontillo's. And then in the Twin Cities area, Devani's is a local chain of about 30 stores that he created. So we got pizza in our blood here too.
Yeah, I'm meeting with I'm in Miami next week for business, and one of my clients down there is involved in a 14 location chain that we're going to be helping out down there in that area. So cool. Next, shipping. And now this can go a couple ways. This can go shipping. I talked to a restaurant the other day that he's like, hey, I bought 2 years versus of cups because I don't know what I had to order them. And I didn't really want to spend that much money on cups, but I'm like the price and the availability, and I've got a storage room that I can use. So he's got a lot of cups coming in. And then also my favorite place down the street where I get an acai bowl probably 3 to 5 times a week. Monday, I couldn't get my acai bowl because the product didn't show up.
Right.
So dig into that.
It is a challenge. You know, I heard another podcast with a gentleman was talking about shipping, back to grocery stores. You know how many trucks a day a grocery store gets?
I'm scared to know.
About 10 to 12 trucks a day.
Okay.
So, when you and I were young, grocery stores, probably half of the footprint was storage because they'd get maybe 1 truck a week and they'd have to store it and then put it on the shelves. Now, everything that comes in goes from truck to shelf. There is no storage. There's no storage in a Trader Joe's. There's no storage in an Aldi's. It goes right to shelf. So we got used to having everything right away. I used to, get 2 deliveries a day. I didn't create walk-in coolers in dry storage to last me more than a day or 2.
Okay.
In many of our restaurants. So shipping is a problem because we are doing the same thing. We're starting to look down the road going, hey, I need to get these to-go supplies. Anything that I can get and put on a shelf, I'm doing it. Our technology we like for tying all of our restaurants together, we wanted to go order 2 more of these for our 2 new stores.
Yeah.
They told me 2024 was as soon as I could get them. 2024 on technology.
That's crazy.
So we're out.
By then it'll be outdated.
Exactly. So we're out on eBay and we're actually trying to buy used routers and get them here now because we can't get the new ones. We're out buying all sorts of computer terminals right now for these stores that are not going to open up for 6 months because we can't get to opening and realize, well, this critical piece we need to operate, I can't get.
Oh, I did a sales meeting for, it's called Presto Foods. It's a regional brand that's underneath the Performance Food Group umbrella. And I was at one of their meetings at a sales meeting, hung around and listened to the other vendors that were there. And the one company was there that did the cleaning supplies. And they said, hey, if you've got somebody opening a restaurant, like the one guy's like, this guy's opening 3 pizza restaurants, right? Yeah. They don't let them drag their feet on the dishwasher. We're 6 months. We're 6 months now. If they want to have an old tub, we got tubs, we can do those. But if they want an actual dishwasher machine, it ain't happening in 30 days. So they better not drag their feet on that stuff.
No, and I used to make a phone call today and I'd have it tomorrow.
Yeah.
So no, it is a real challenge, especially getting these new equipment. And we were about 6 months out on everything. Our pizza concept and our other Hazelwood will probably be delayed 2 to 3 months. Yeah. Easily from where we originally targeted, just waiting for stuff to arrive.
The guy I mentioned that's opened the restaurant in Gatlinburg, it's been like, I guess, it's what they call that, windowed in, boxed in, whatever that terminology is. It's ready. It could be opening the next month and a half, but they had to delay it because they couldn't get the piece that hooks the permanent power to the building.
Jeez.
He's like, I never knew he's opened so many concepts. Like I've never heard of that being a problem. And here we are, we have temporary power because we can't get this piece that comes in like in the next month or 2.
These are for restaurateurs. These are problems we've never had to deal with before. And it is challenging. I mean, we had to rethink everything about how we get a store open.
Yep. And last but not least, labor costs. Now, I like that you said labor costs because I think one thing that has been overblown in my opinion a little, and granted I could be out of touch, but I've this is from talking to 30, 40 different people in the past month, is that yes, there's restaurants, every industry in the country is struggling to find employees. There's not a single business that I've seen within anywhere I've been in the United States. It's not hiring.
Right.
But I'll say this. One thing I've noticed is that the people who aren't struggling to find good talent, I'm not saying cost of it, I'm saying the actual getting people to apply, are the people that treat their people right, that have an atmosphere people want to be in. Because I look at it from a standpoint that like I've had 7, 8 interviews this week here at our company. I'm pretty, people see what we're doing. There's exciting stuff. They see how we treat people. We had a ping pong competition, which I won today, by the way. They see that stuff. It's like, they want to work there. And I was talking to a restaurant recently, and he's like, Matt, one of the reasons we're getting so many referrals we're getting good employees is because our employees go home at night and they're not mad. They're not mad because they're overworked. They're not mad because I'm a jackass. They're not mad because the conditions suck. And when they go home happy, their friends see it. They talk to them on Facebook, or they're in their roommates or their family. They go, I want to be a part of that. And so I think that there's an opportunity for people out there to readjust how they imagine the experience of a person working at your company, that you can get good people still. But yes, costs are a different story. It is more expensive nowadays.
It is cost. I would say, I don't want to, at the risk of jinxing our company, we're out of 600 hourly employees, I'm probably looking for 30. For 60 salaried employees, I'm probably looking for 2. So in the world of restaurants, this is pretty low.
Well, that's reflective more than likely on the culture and the environment that you guys have created.
It is, and we've done it through obviously back of the house increases that I mentioned before. We've stepped up our game in benefits, 401k, healthcare, we're adding dental and vision this year. So there's a few things we're doing to also make it a better, to entice them in a little bit more. We have a great bonus program for managers. However, you're right. Without having the culture, none of that stuff matters.
Yep.
But one of the things we are doing on labor costs, I'm actually working with a consultant I met a while ago, is we're looking at labor instead of a percent of sales. We're looking at changing our whole idea of looking at labor as a production number. Okay. And that's kind of a little bit new in the restaurant world. I think manufacturers look at this all the time. How many hours does it take to produce a car, a boat, or something like that? They have that number dialed in, but restaurants don't. We tend to look at it, okay, what's my percent of sales? Well, in the restaurant business, it doesn't teach us much. If I set a labor goal of 25% and my team comes in at 23%, your reaction is, oh, congratulations, you ran a good shift. Well, the reality is you probably ran a really tough shift because you're understaffed, the customers didn't get served, and it was probably very stressful. Same thing if you ran a 30%, I'm going to say, you know what, you really weren't paying attention, you didn't cut in time and all that. So what we want to do is start looking at the labor the same way that you look at manufacturing. How many customers per labor hour do I have? And then we can say, okay, we know if we're running a good shift, we know what that number is. And if we start managing to that metric, not only do we know that we'll have good customer service, it does actually flow into a percentage that is achievable. So
yeah. That's you're speaking my language. Like our show, America's Best Restaurants, we have every episode we shoot. I mean, next year, each van, the 2 vans that are on the road now, those will each shoot about 1,500 episodes next year. Mm-hmm. I don't have a percentage of what we spend to do it. I know that every episode we shoot, the editing is this much. That we do a 1-minute TikTok video that goes on TikTok, Facebook, and Instagram Reels. I know what that costs. So I know that every time that van pulls up, it's not, oh, what's a percentage? Like in your case, it's what's a percentage of labor. I know what my labor is for every episode because I have to in order to, 1, know what I got to fund the company, but 2, know when we're going to make money on the back end of the company with regards to selling media kits or with regards to people coming on board as trial clients. I have to know what my pull-through is going to be. Percentages can be deceiving in that manner.
Exactly. And that was one of the things we learned when we started looking at this and saying that being below budget is not necessarily a good thing.
Well, I love it. Anything else that we need to talk about before we tune off? I mean, you gave us 3 great ones there.
No, it's always great to talk to you again, Matt.
Cool. Well, I appreciate your time. I can't wait to get up north. Maybe I need to get up there quicker. I can't wait to try this New York style pizza, but get online, get this man's book, Myth, Magic, Math, 3 things that you need to have in the restaurant business to survive. And I appreciate your feedback and wish you nothing but the success up there in Minnesota.
Look forward to meeting you.
Hey, thanks, Bruce.
Take care.